Live stream? I don't know if it hurts.
So I know this is the manifesto evening. I'm Tony Torn. This is Richard Foreman. Richard is supposed to start things off, and they asked me to talk with him. But I just wanted to basically start things off with something that you once said to me in rehearsal. So about 12 years ago, I was working with Richard, and he said to me, Tony, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I get you wrong, please forgive me. 12 years ago. He said, Tony, you know, sometimes I imagine creating a new form of theater, an idealized, beautiful, purely abstract form that has no connection with the old, used up traditions of the theater. And then I realized I've cast Tony Torn in my play. So this is impossible for me to achieve. And the only thing I can do is wallow in the crassest tradition of the theater, which I think is probably the greatest compliment anybody's ever paid.
I think I meant it as a compliment.
Yes, I just thought that, look, talk about what is an ideal theater and what are the challenges in achieving.
Tony, we're supposed to be giving a manifesto.
Well, but what am I doing? Am I just supposed to listen here and go like,
I said that, I said I never agree to talk anymore unless there's somebody to ask me questions, because then I can respond to a question and talk easily for half an hour and not get nervous. Like, what am I going to do? But I do want to, the important thing for me is that, 40 years ago almost, I started writing manifestos. And I think I was one of the first people in America to really make a thing about that and do it. Yeah. So it's appropriate that I'm here. However, I'm against manifestos now. And no, really I am. And however, I realize, of course, the obvious thing is, if you start talking about how you're against manifestos, you end up describing a position, and that becomes a manifesto.
So you're stuck.
Yes, you are. And that's very difficult. But, in a sense, I have spent my life trying to do art that, whether I succeed or not, whether people realize it or not, tries to exploit whatever stuck situation like that I can write out of, so that I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm doing. And I thought today the only way to speak against manifestos was to come here not having a clue as to what I was going to talk about, seriously, not having a clue about what I was going to do. Because the minute you have any idea, you are essentially embodying, at least, if not directly rendering, a manifesto.
Yeah.
So.
Open the envelope.
Oh, open the envelope? Yeah. There is something in here.
Is that a dead end to inquire what it is?
No, I intended at a certain point to open it. But in a sense, that's avoiding manifesto. And the fact, who said open the envelope? That's an accurate way to dealing with the present moment and making something happen out of that. Now, I've never been interested in making improvisatory art. I'm an anal retentive form fanatic who wants to plan everything out, as you know.
As I know, quite well.
But how to do that, and do that which partakes of this, I don't know what works, and I want to exploit what doesn't work.
Would it be fair to talk about what you early tried to achieve when you were in a manifesto mind, and how you turned against it? So let's go back to when you first publishing plays and manifestos. What were you trying to do with those original statements?
Okay, first of all, I didn't turn against it until they asked me if I would come and do a manifesto.
A couple weeks ago. Bravo!
And then I realized, why the hell do I want to do another manifesto? My whole life, even when I was writing manifestos, from the beginning, I am a person who takes notes all the time. I read something or I see something and I write down a little note and I think, oh yeah, I see, that's what I want to do. This is it. So I have literally hundreds of pages of stacks of little instructions as to what to do so that I can write a play. And I always think, oh yeah, if I just get a couple of 2 or 3 little things, then it'll be easy to write a play. Of course, it doesn't make it any easier, and those 2 or 3 little things wear out after a day, and they don't exactly wear out, but they're no longer stimulating. But of course, that's the trouble with all manifestos. Is there any manifesto, as great as it's been, that hasn't worn out, hasn't been superseded, like everything is superseded? So it is, in a sense, spiritually not enlightened to take any position. And I'm in favor, I'm interested in certain philosophers and religious writers who talk about taking no position. Because the minute you take a position, you're lying about things. I mean, you just are. And so what the hell do you do? It's a problem. And again, that problem has been the source of my work. But to return to your question, at the beginning, let's face it, I wrote manifestos because nobody would come to my theater. And no, seriously, I wanted to get attention to myself. So in the early days of the drama review, maybe it was a Tulane drama review at that point, I don't know. I was friendly with some of the people, and I wrote manifestos trying to be provocative, trying to tell the truth about what my responses were, being well aware of the Surrealist manifestos, amongst others, and thinking this will get attention to me. And it did. And that's why I did them. And also, this need to write something was for very personal psychological reasons. Because as a kid, I went to the Yale Drama School, and I was trying to write plays like the plays that get, and especially in those days, got produced on Broadway.
Yes.
And then at a certain point, I got introduced to certain kinds of very advanced art that had nothing to do with theater. And I wanted to make theater like that. So I started writing a totally crazy kind of play that nobody would do, so I started doing them myself. But when I started doing this, my parents, who had obviously paid for me going to Yale and so forth, when I wrote these first, I had a play option, that was fine, I had a play option for New York, fell through. But when I started doing these crazy plays, my parents, my father especially, who was a pretty tough guy, he would say, why aren't you writing plays like Neil Simon? You're never going to get anywhere writing this kind of junk. When I got my picture in the Times, then everything changed. But I still, at the age of 75, less now, but I'm still, and certainly through my 50s, I was having internal, unconscious, conscious conversations with my parents, justifying what I was doing in the face of a world that was not inclined to like what I was doing. And I still feel that way today. I still feel a lot of people don't like what I am doing. So the manifestos were in a sense to say, look, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it.
Right. So it's actually a speech to the parents that extended to the world at large.
Yes, I think it was to a certain extent, yeah. It's not that my parents would understand my manifestos.
Yeah, but that actually makes it even a stronger victory.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
But
talking
you see,
over
in spite of
the
the fact that I have a reputation, I think, and I think I am a rather esoteric artist in many ways, as for most things, it comes from a very personal response to real life situations and real life problems, and that is my response to those things. My response is not to be like Arthur Miller and talk about what happens to Willy Loman or something like that. You regularly put out plays for such a long period of time, so that it was so often it almost seemed like it was like an ongoing serial. Oh, I always did at least once a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then so you're coming out of a hiatus where you were working mainly in film, and you're going to be doing a play again next spring for the public. So
Yeah.
You're coming back to writing for the theater after a break. Is this? Do you think this has anything to do with the fact that you're coming to this manifesto question also from a question of, well, I don't have to do what I did before? Is that anything to do with your process? Or is the process just the same as it always has been?
No, the process is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Even though, like the play I'm doing in public, I think in a sense, I think it's a pretty good play. People seem to like it a lot, but it's regressive for me. I don't think, there's another play I'd like to do that I don't think anybody will put up the money to do. It's a much more difficult play, and that's what I'd really like to do.
Do it.
How will I ever get it on, I don't know.
Well, yeah, so by trying to tease you into a manifesto consciousness without giving a manifesto. I mean, so in many ways, a manifesto means like, okay, I'm going to state a series of rules that might lead us to a greater goal in the theater.
Yes.
So the difference between these two plays are interesting to me. So without being specific, can we talk about why you figure this other play is too challenging for people maybe to consider staging? What is it about it?
Well, because you have to give people a script and sell them on the idea of doing this. And if the script is just, 15 pages of 3 or 4 lines don't seem to make too much sense to people on the page. I mean, I'm not saying you could do it in a small theater, yes, but I want, more production money than that.
Right. So you're no longer working out of your small space at the St. Luke's Church. So,
we spent a lot of money in those shows too, so it wasn't cheap.
Yeah. But still, you're writing for the public. And
this was not written for the public.
Yeah.
And this new thing that I'm talking about is certainly not written for the public.
No, I'm talking about the one that you're doing.
Yeah, but I don't write for anybody. I write for myself, and then I look at it and say, can I find anybody interested?
Right, exactly. But it's a different situation than you had before. You don't have this ongoing sort of situation here. Your shop, you go around.
For me, that's scary at the end of my career because I used to be able to do one every year.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not going to write anymore. I'm not going to publish any more manifestos. People ask me occasionally.
Yeah, so that's it.
I might publish these notes, but these notes are so fragmentary.
Can we hear them?
Oh, well, here, I just picked a page at random, believe me, from recent things I've been writing. And this is the kind of thing that I think about, and I only have 2 minutes time. 1, issue not writing, which is nothing, but being in a position to write. Use art to destroy art, well, that's kind of a cliche. Enjambment, like in poetry, like enjambment between the lines, well, make a theater that with its techniques practices enjambment. Instead of finishing at the end of the line, it's a kind of heightened, intense syncopation, which is like enjambment. Find your blindness, the blind spot, my openness, the blind spot in the eye. We all have a blind spot in the center of the eye where God dwells. And I, of course, like everybody else, I'm a little ashamed to say God, but it is where God dwells. Click of, wait a minute, reframe that. You had it wrong, habit. You always have it wrong because you proceed with habit. So you're always wrong. Because everything, what I'm saying now, what we're saying out of habit. We've learned how to rhetorically have our repertoire of things to say. Click, to stop that habit and to take a new shot so it happens. Gesture between act and meaning. I realized just really quite sort of recently that, people think I'm creative. I don't create. I do anything. I throw junk on the stage. I throw junk on the page. If I was a painter, I'd throw junk on the canvas. And then what I do is change. Change things. Change the junk that I produce. And that is the delight. Changing things. Not creating. You've got to give something back. I think our time is up.
I think that's an excellent place to end. Change. Thank you.